afternoon, everybody. I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Camilla.
I'm Zee Garcia.
Today we're talking about top 10 reasons we love gaming. But before we get into that, a couple things. First of all, in
23.
4 days,
4 days.
we're launching the Dice Tower Kickstarter.
That was 2023 Kickstarter shout-outs.
No, that's coming.
Oh.
You can click a link to be notified when we do this, and I put that just underneath in the top of the description here. Just click dicetowerkickstarter.com. Another thing you can click on there is we're running a survey right now for our upcoming game shows that we're doing. And I get that it's just, useless information, but it's fun for game shows. But one random person will win a box of games. And we got a whole lot of extra cool mini games and shrink wrap to send
That's
you.
neat. I like this, Vasel.
Is that what we're doing with that one really neat game in shrink wrap? Can I say the name? Is that the actual Fox?
No, don't say it. It might not be in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
We'll ask off camera, but no.
I'll write it down.
The Christmas thing?
No, you want me to sign it?
I'm really slow. I'm like, A, M.
B, C.
Hey.
Yeah, I can do the
Okay,
alphabet,
okay. Hold up, I'm invested. Keep going.
That's
Have
all I
fun.
got.
Oh my gosh.
J. You make the J.
J, K, L, M, N.
O.
N.
This is T. I know this.
M is 3, N.
This is Tom.
M, N, O.
O, we got O. K upside down.
P. Yeah.
We'd like to thank some of our Kickstarter backers from last year. We'd like to say thank you to Samuel Carey.
Samuel!
Oh, hey, played a game with him.
To Whoso I am sure Zee can butcher my last name.
I got you, my man. Oh. Juso Hietalahi.
Andrew Belleville. Marin, Chris, and Nell from Nuremberg. Joseph Niermis, Board Games of Niermis. Thor Soderlund. Trevor Douglas Johnson. Tomas Chabot Chaveria. And Steve Isaacson. I've met half the people I read the names of today.
That's pretty cool. One of them is named Thor. Hello? I'm sorry, that whole part of the world gets away with naming their kids Thor. I want to be named
You can't name
Thor.
your kids Thor here?
No, I'm a pretentious jerk if I do.
As opposed.
If you're from Iceland, you get away with that. Or, wherever that part of
Yeah,
the
if
world.
you name your kid Thor, I would be like,
You big old nerd. Oh, you're from Iceland?
You're
great.
fine.
I
Makes no
apologize,
sense.
my Viking brethren.
what if you are a nerd from Iceland?
Then you should name your kid Thor, middle name Thor as well.
Oh, Thor.
That's what I name him, like Steve Rogers.
Steve Thor Rogers.
Okay, so a lot of times when we mention we play board games, we talk to people about playing board games. There's
Yeah.
a negative outlook on that. Now it's not so bad as it was
Like
before.
Monopoly?
Or just like, isn't board games for kids? Or why would you waste your week vacation going to a convention playing board games? Something like that, So why do we play board games? I would imagine our reasons here are going to be fairly similar.
Right.
Because video games suck.
I did not put that down, and they don't
Spoilers.
suck. I like video games.
Watch your mouth.
What's wrong with video? Do you not play video games?
I do. I some. They make me really sick, a lot of them. I can't do first person. I can't watch a lot of other people play sometimes.
Watching someone play is harder than playing yourself, I think.
Well, I can't control the vision thing. The two at one, it doesn't work. I can pat my head and rub my tummy, but I can't do the two things.
I get that. I don't know. I feel like
I can't.
it's just a learned thing.
You kind of get used to it, yeah.
I have not.
Like-
Like
so.
running backwards, where you're running forward,
In a video game or
but
real
you're
life?
spun around and looking backwards
Yeah,
in a video game.
yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing.
Strafing, learning how to move in one direction while turning this one so that you're strafing.
Yeah, no, I can't do that.
Oh, I'm rocking
no.
it, man.
No, I just end up sitting in the chair and trying to
You end up
actually look around the
probably
corner,
looking-
and it doesn't
you
work.
end up looking at
So
the
weird.
ceiling or the floor.
I just don't. I just
happens to a
can't
lot
see
of
it. I'm
things.
like,
People
I'm
don't
gonna
know how
find
to do
out.
both. They're
I can't.
Like, what are you doing?
No, that's me.
I get the looking around a corner, though. I definitely tell my kids to be quiet when I'm sneaking up on someone. I'm like, shush!
They might hear you.
In the game?
Yes. No one to hear you.
All right.
All right, top 10 reasons we love I was going to say like, and I changed it to love. We love
Lerv?
gaming.
Lerv. I
Number
love
10.
it.
Here we go. My number 10 is going to be a lovely accident that happens with board gaming, and if you do enough of it, it's this thing that kind of sneaks up on you, and I'm calling it here accidental learning, or like side effect learning.
Good one.
The only way Z learns.
It's the only way to do it. I'm over reading books. I put petrichor, the definition of petrichor, in here because I'm fairly certain I learned what petrichor was from the board game petrichor.
I know I learned it from
I've
that.
never played that game, mind you, okay? So it's not even that I learned it from playing the game. It's just a game was called that, and I'm like, what is that?
What is it?
Now I know exactly what that means. Like, I'll never forget that definition of that word. And that's obviously just one example, but
What about orthogonal?
orthogonal.
Orthogonal is one, yeah.
You will learn things from board games. You will learn about places. You will learn about specific times, periods of time, worldly events, all sorts of things. Obviously, sometimes they are, many of the times, the whatever the game setting is fantastical, but you'll still sort of pick up information and pick up, just become a little more worldly from playing these kinds of games. So my number 10 is a little bit of accidental learning, which I really am glad sort of happens by osmosis a little bit.
I'm amused by the accidental. I think learning would have been fine, but accidental doesn't work.
It is kind of accidental,
It
right?
is, though, right.
It's not accidental, like a side effect.
Side effect, yeah.
Side effect learning. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause you don't go into it thinking like, oh, I wonder if there's a word for I can smell the rain coming, kind of thing.
Right.
So, yeah. My number 10 is the tactile nature of games and physical board games. I joked earlier about video games making me sick. It wasn't a joke. It's real. I have taken Dramamine after watching my son play Minecraft. And I've never gotten sick from a board game. But even that, I just love the feel of the components. There's a lot of joy in taking them out and looking at the minis or going through and seeing the different tokens, taking the cards out and just looking at the different artwork. I just find a lot of fun in actually being able to
What game is this?
This is Monsters on Board.
That's so cool looking.
Right?
Yeah, man.
It is.
Tactile.
Do you want to touch it?
I do.
You can't.
I want to put that cube in that car.
That's
You
where it
do.
goes.
That's
it's
where
a
it
drafting.
goes.
It's dice drafting.
It's dice.
So you
The
roll
dice
and you
go
put them
in
in
the
there,
cars.
and
Why
then you
did I
drive
never
the
play this
car
game?
around. I don't know.
It's terrible. It sucks. Never mind. Move
No,
on.
it doesn't. It's fantastic.
crap.
No, it's not. It's a fantastic game.
Keep
I
falling over. It's
love
one of
it.
the worst tactile experiences
Oh
of
my
my life.
gosh. Hey, Salt. Yeah, no, I love the tactile nature. There's just something about, seeing it and be like, ooh, I want to touch it, and you can.
All right.
I'm surprised this is this low on your list.
Because there's other ones that are very similar. No, there's not. But yeah, I know. It's.
Yeah, I'm like 10.
This is a really hard one to do. There's some good ones.
My number 10 is the lowest on my list, but it's also, I know for many people, this is their number one, especially if you go to the World Series of Board Gaming, and that is competition. It's not my main reason I love games, but it is one I do like it. And a lot of this is because, unlike some athletic people, I've not been very good at sports in my life, and I deliberately am not competitive in sports, but a lot of the reason I'm not competitive in sports is because I just can't be, really. I mean, I guess if I practiced all the time, maybe, but I just was like, well, I don't really care that strongly. I do like being competitive in board games, not to the point of I want to crush the other person, but I want to try to win. It gives me something I feel like I'm on an even foot. And board gaming in general does that. With obviously some people
Right, that
crush
take it too
everyone
far.
they play. Or I played on New Year's Eve at our church thing, a kid came with a chess set. It's like, do you want to play chess? And I knew where that was going. And I went, exactly where.
There, yeah.
But I don't know. I like the competitive nature of trying to beat people. It doesn't, for me, hopefully overwhelm everything about it, but I think it's a part of gaming I like a lot.
It's that safe competition. It's a safe environment in which to compete with the guardrails up.
Right.
You have rules and regulations, and you compete within them. You know what I mean?
It's a safe space because there's no,
There's nothing
injury,
at stake.
right, exactly, very low stakes.
And
sometimes you're competing against yourself, trying to get a better score than last time.
Yeah.
Or you're
Right.
competing against the game.
Yeah.
I don't want to just hold hands and kumbaya my way through a game. I do that sometimes with a video game, maybe. You're just playing whatever, but there's still some sort of goal usually. And that's what I like about board games. It gives me those goals.
all right, my number 10, I am calling very simply
9.
the thrill, my number 9, yeah.
The thrill of defeat.
The thrill of discovery. And by that I mean that learning new games is more specifically what I'm talking about here. It's that feeling of, I guess, unbridled promise and untold riches from looking at a game and going, that might be my new favorite game. Sitting right there, and I haven't even played it yet. And again, that discovery, like the Lascaux Caves there, discovery. There is, there's something about that. There's something about getting into a game, learning its mechanisms, understanding how a machine works that speaks to me. I think a lot of kids feel that way probably as kids are growing up. I think a lot of them are drawn to that whole, how do things work? I want to open this clock and see how it works. I want to open this video game console and see what's inside and see how things work. I love that. I still kind of feel that, and I think board games, the hood is already off. I don't have to take the screws off, so I get to get in there and see how it works. And that's fun, that discovery of the card drafting. Oh, okay, you take one, but you have to leave one on the table. And you have to put these things in order, but you have to be careful you don't leave too big a gap, and whatever mechanical, brouhaha you want to say. I love that feeling of discovery in board games. It's exciting. It's always fun to try something new. Now, that drop-off sometimes is very quick. You open it up and you're like, oh, it sucks. You know what I mean?
Thrill of discovery, the agony of discovery.
Yeah,
Right.
sometimes
There
it's
is
just,
there is no hook or something like that.
right.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, there's something about every game, to even if it's a small something, to celebrate about it. So I like that.
Very good. My number 9 is that there is something for everyone. And I say this lightly because I'm not saying, hey, you should try to get everyone you know into board games.
You should.
That's not what I'm saying. I mean, if they don't like board games, don't get them that for Christmas. But at the same time, I do feel like if there is an interest there or a desire, there's probably a game out there for them. Maybe it's because of the theme or a mechanism or a weight that they really like of party games. There's good party games, there's good really heavy games, but there's something for everyone.
Not you.
This is
Not you.
Not you though. Yes, no. So this is me playing with my little brother here. I'm playing Empires of the North actually. But he was really interested in it. It's something he was interested in. He wanted to play, and so we jumped into it. And he enjoyed it a lot more than his face says right there. But
She couldn't find a picture of anyone smiling playing with her.
right, yeah. You can guess who won by that, but it's cool. It's competition. It's fine. So yeah, I just love that whether it's the theme that grabs them or a weight or something, there's something in the hobby for everyone if they have that interest and desire to play. And I just like the variability that board games bring.
I agree with that. I do think there is a game absolutely for everyone. Forcing people to play obviously is not okay, but
Right.
That whole I'm not a gamer thing, I actually do think that's a bit of a myth.
Right.
I think everybody would like a game at least.
Right. And sometimes that's a surprising game.
Yeah.
We just reviewed one recently that it was like, the weight of the game I didn't like, the abstract nature of the theme I didn't care about, but it had this one mechanism that I was like, oh, that's exciting. So I tried it and I really, really enjoyed it, and so sometimes it's surprising as well what that is. But yeah, so my number 9 is something for everyone.
Show us, is this live or just a video? It's just a video.
Yeah, this is not live. Sorry.
My number 9 is a crossover already with Camilla.
Hi-yo.
What's up?
And that is tactile. I use the
can
same
touch
word,
it.
but I also wrote toy factor.
Tactile toy factor. That's
tactile
good.
You know, so right now
That's okay.
there's a push every year. A new company comes out with a new gaming table. They're all,
Yes.
you know,
Yes,
and none of them has. I'm talking about the electronic gaming tables. Sorry, where you press the buttons and things
that's
happen.
not. Okay.
Not what I was thinking, nope.
Oh,
No, but there's a new one that comes out every year at Gen Con for like the past 4 or 5 years, and none of them have really taken off.
Right.
And I think one of the reasons that they're gonna have a hard time taking off is because I do like screens and moving stuff, but I like picking up pieces. I like building a 3-dimensional tower. You know, something that Zee makes fun of all the time is the cathedral in Pillars of the Earth.
Those are the Earth, yeah.
But I like putting that thing together. It's fun. I like moving miniatures around. And I'll tell you what, I also know that 99% of people agree with me on this one. That stupid loud 1%, though, all the time, they're like, it doesn't matter. I can play on a piece of paper.
is that what they say? Loosely translated to.
I'm a moron.
Got it.
But there's
All right.
people that are like, I don't care what the game looks like. I don't care about this. And yet, as soon as you put those nice things on a table, whether it's a bunch of poker chips that people will sit there and play with the whole game because they like them.
Right.
Or that
Yeah.
first time that you see the gears in Zulkin move and you're like, that's amazing. People like that stuff where you feel the card and you're like, this is great. That feeling of stuff. And that's why it drives me nuts when I play online and I roll dice and I have to click a mouse.
Yeah.
I want to pick up the dice and roll them. I like it. So
Right. There is something about that control. Like, it's random because you roll the dice. You know, like if you just click the button, like, but what if I clicked it again? I don't know. For some reason, it just doesn't have the same effect.
And it brings, when I was a kid, I played Legos or G.I. Joe or whatever it was. And I'm doing the same thing. People say board games are toys. That's true. I just have toys with rules. Whatever they might be. There's toys with rules. Building a house.
Yeah.
I'm doing Lego with rules, or I'm doing G.I. Joe with rules. They're toys with rules, and I like that about games.
That's good. All right, so my number 8 is a bit of a follow-up to my number 9 there. 9 was the thrill of discovery. My number 8
The
is
joy of the familiar.
The thrill of defeat.
the thrill of improvement.
Oh.
So there is that
Okay.
discovery when you first find the game, and then there is something also, maybe it has to do a little bit with the competition thing you were talking about.
Why is there a...
Well, if you remember the thrill of discovery image.
It's a bitter cow. I get it.
It's
Oh, you're so smart!
Hey!
all right, there you go.
Did you put these next to each other because of
Go to
that?
school.
Did you put these next to each other so that we would get
They
it
really-
like
they
9
really
and
did,
10?
absolutely.
The other one would have been higher, but you needed it next to each other. Yeah.
100%.
Okay, checks out.
I need the thrill of discovery to go before the thrill of
Right
improvement.
there, yes.
I can't just be like the thrill of improvement, and then like 3 numbers later, the thrill of discovery. Remember? So anyway, yeah, no, you discover the game, you find something, you enjoy the moving parts, and then getting deeper into something, feeling yourself improving at something, understanding how it works, and how to manipulate the game so that you can be better at it. I don't do this a lot with a lot of games, but the few games I like to do it with are highly rewarding experiences. And again, it's just that competition thing. I'm competing with myself to see how much better I can do. And I like that. That's its own kind of reward. Finding out how much I can push it, what I can try, how I misunderstood something and can relearn it to get a better result. All of those things are part of this sort of thrill of improvement. That's my number 8.
My number 8 is really similar. I don't like my games to be work when I play. I don't want to feel like I need a spreadsheet or something like that, but I do feel like playing games helps you work on skills or kind of keeps you sharp. You know, like I said, a little sneaky math is kind of what I call it. You know, as you're going through, you're doing your
accidental
scores.
learning, that's what I've
Accidental
heard.
learning. I now know that it is called accidental
Sneaky
learning.
math is a good way to
but like,
put that.
But like the
for sure,
sneaky math.
Sneaky math.
But then also, or memory. I'm terrible at memory. Or this here, working on skills. This is me playing with Joey's daughter here and kind of teaching her the game and just watching her reasoning get better as we went through this game. And so just it's learning a skill, keeping you sharp, but also teaching skills to others, in this case, a child. I just really love that that's something that you can do in board games and comes so naturally, but also, again, accidentally, unexpected, very sneaky. You know, you're not like, okay, let's sit down and work on our reasoning skills. Here is a puzzle, or here's a riddle to solve.
Right.
You know, it's just built into this fun experience that comes by playing. And so I really, really like that. So it's similar to what you said, but it kind of keeps you sharp and helps you work on skills as well.
I will say there's a lot of games out there that exist that do have non-sneaky math in them.
Yes.
You're like, there's math. There's
Right.
math.
Yeah. And that's not
Or if you're British,
mine.
maths.
Maths.
All right, my number 7 is a bit different. 8. My number 8 here is, in this industry, the accessibility is unbelievable. So the accessibility of the industry, but what I mean is, if you, let's say you're a movie fan and you want to meet Tom Cruise, that may never happen to you, no matter how hard you try. Unless, of course, you were some sort of weird stalker who's going to get arrested. But if you want to meet your favorite designer, that's very possible. It's very possible to meet designers and artists and have conversations with them. The industry is not super small. I mean, there's millions of people who play board games, but it's small enough still that's just kind of it's unprecedented in many other industries. I can't talk to famous people. And I'm not talking like us, that we can do it. I mean, I was able to go find designers and publishers to talk to them when I first got into gaming.
Yeah.
Right.
You can be like, and you might type a message on a message board and they might respond to you. Mm-hmm. I think that's just really cool. I really like that aspect.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even think of this, but you're right.
Yeah, I didn't think about that either, but that is really cool.
I like the concept. It makes it feel less pretentious. Mm-hmm. Also, a lot of people involved in board gaming are very active in gaming, online and stuff. So you can almost even know some of these people. Like, I don't know that I've ever corresponded with anybody from any other industry.
Right.
You know, like, this was a good movie, and Tom Hanks comes in and goes, I also like this movie.
Right.
You know, that doesn't happen.
Sure.
But it can happen in board gaming, so that's pretty neat.
That's really
good.
Thanks, Sondre, for the super chat from Norway. Woo, 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 woo.
All right.
Oh, Norway. I bet he's got a relative named Thor.
Yeah.
100%.
It's his middle name. Oh, wait, it's Larson.
Okay, my number 7 is very easy. My number 7 is I like this hobby because it's fun to collect stuff in the hobby. It is a fun hobby to collect for or with or what have you. There's a lot of people who like collecting things. I think all of us, there's a part of the brain, maybe like some, Cro-Magnon stuff in there that loves to have stuff. And board games are a super fun thing to collect. Now, I don't recommend you keep it in shrink wrap.
That picture looks very familiar, Zee.
That picture is very recent.
In the last 24 hours.
That's correct. Anyway, I love collecting board games, and I would not call myself a board game collector, by the way. If it's not fun, I don't keep it. But it is a fun thing to collect because you can turn around and use those things. And a lot of collections, it seems, the fun is just the collecting of the thing and not utilizing it for anything.
Yeah.
People collect all sorts of stuff, stamps, coins. I mean, the list goes on, and those things do not do anything. You can't utilize them. Board games, video games, whatever, they do it too. You can collect the thing. You can enjoy looking at them. They have a physical presence. And then you can take it off the shelf and enjoy your collection. And that's wonderful. I love collecting something that you can also utilize and enjoy and it's almost like you are a part of your collection. You can be within it. So for me, it's just a fun hobby to be in and collect. That's my number 7.
I agree. I usually get so mad. I'm still annoyed when I haven't seen it in a while, but I go to someone's house and they collect toys in shrink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have my kids with me, and my kids are like, "What?" I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong with these people.
I know.
Yeah.
You know, they bought toys, but they won't play with them.
You're not a collector. I guess you are. But you're not as much a collector as you are like an investor.
Right. Well,
'Cause that's all you're doing, right? You probably are just keeping those in case they explode in value.
Well, so on that, I have an example of that. When I was like 14, I was babysitting, and this is in the 90s, so Beanie Babies were huge. And
And you stole one.
no, so I'm babysitting, and the girl I was babysitting wanted to play with her Beanie Baby or whatever, and so she played with it, whatever, the tag fell off. So from the 90s, you know where this is going. But so the tag fell off, parents came home, and they were livid. Like, it was a heated discussion.
Was the girl not supposed to play with it?
I guess she wasn't supposed to play with it. They didn't tell me, and so the tag fell off, and they were like, and this is an investment, and how could you, and we trusted you, and all this. And so
Did
it's
you
like,
wait 3 years and even back and go, what
like,
investment?
hey, about that Beanie Baby. No, but it was
I
like, but I just remember at that point just being like, what? Like, you're collecting this, but you can't touch it, but you have it out, but it's a toy, and you have kids, and I was so confused by this.
You should definitely find out which one. Buy one on eBay for like $12
and send it to
them and be like, here you go.
Paid in full.
Paid in full.
But it's like so confusing to me. It just like blew my mind. I was like, but it's a toy. I don't get it, and it's out, and it's anyway. It was just insane to me. But I think to your point, it's a personal collection, and you're constantly culling and kind of refining your collection over the years. So it's a very personal. I think is what you said. It's a
collecting
personal
for
collection.
blindly collecting.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of sort of just having bulk. But yeah, having a living collection is very satisfying. Yeah.
Yeah. My number 7 is, I think this is probably just a me thing of the group here, but I find
The thrill of knifing your opponents.
No, we're only on 7. It's just the joy in sorting and organizing and customizing. So kind of like you were saying, but
I didn't even think of this
But
one.
in general, you were talking about your collection. For me, it's in a game that I already love, or I know I love, and I get it, and I take it out, and I'm looking at the individual cards and taking them out of shrink. I love the organization here. I mean, look how beautiful, like all the little tokens, they're facing the right way because they all punched, top to bottom, and they're all facing the right way. And then all the little minis have their own spots. I customized it. I painted this game. I absolutely love the joy in getting a game, taking it out, that discovery of making it your own in the box, and then later down the road revisiting it, whether you play it. I'm one that I'll sit down, I'll just take out Meadow and look through the cards. Or I'll take out these minis that I painted here for the Stranger Things game, and I'll look at them. Not because I'm a great painter. Like, there's a reation that this is not a close-up shot here, but I just enjoy looking at them again and reliving those experiences.
Back, actually?
Pull back. Oh, I actually hit you. Sorry. Can we?
You see what happens
I didn't
every
do it
day.
on camera, okay? I'm sorry. I forgot it was live.
A lot of violence. Why do you think I'm leaning way over this one? I will not be part of this violence.
You're right. I forgot about this. Although I feel this way about everything. No, I just like to. I like on my computer. I'm like, I got to sort out these files. All right, let's do it.
I'm the same way, but you can do this with your toys and something that you have invested time, emotional experience with it. So as you're going through and you're organizing it and you're remembering the experiences, there's just so much to it. It's a very personal thing to me, and I can go and look at someone else's copy of the exact same game, and it's different. And I love that. There's so much joy in punching it and organizing it and taking a mess. When you used to do the component drops, that was a fair reaction.
She said punching it, then she swung.
I know, man. That's when you leap on me over here. You're safe.
Oh, man.
You're safe. I got you.
There's been a couple times you've done component drops or something, and the box just sits there, and I'm just like itching. I'm like, oh, can I put it back together?
Well,
Yes,
that's not about
I love it. I love it.
I think a component drop is good for organization sometimes. Because sometimes you're just like, throw it, now we'll start from scratch. Because trying to take something that's half organized and organizing it is worse sometimes.
Oh, interesting. Because I like to go through and punch the game and organize it, then read the rule book, then go back when you kind of know how the component should go. It's part of the learning process.
That's
of
what
the
I'm
game
saying.
for me.
Yeah, sometimes I don't know how they go back.
Yeah. So, anyway.
All right, my number 7 is is the one I always lead off with when someone says, "Why are games good?" I say, "Because education." Education, as a former teacher and a former student, I don't study anymore, and this is all.
Good.
This is This is deliberate education as opposed to your accidental education. No, I just like the idea. Like my guy is teaching both students and monkeys.
And monkeys, yeah, that's funny.
I worked hard on that. I don't know what game that is, don't ask. It's a mix between chess and sorry and...
What?
Maybe Monopoly.
Okay.
It's a Monopoly-esque board.
But anyway, I could go, and I have made top 10s on just this subject. I could make top 10s on this subject. I mean, we're living in dreamland at this point.
Yeah.
Science games, history games,
Yeah.
English, math, it's just all there. If you
Yeah.
play a board game with your kids, first, very few board games, there's obviously some, but very few board games aren't going to teach them something.
Yes.
Right.
It's a good way to spend time, and it's fun. I love the idea of using board games as an educational thing. People learn from them. You learn the map, and you know, you play Ticket to Ride enough,
Yeah.
you tend to know where cities are. I know some Nimrod is going to go, oh, well, actually, they're a little off. I know
2
where
degrees
Chicago is,
off.
basically. And I think that's
Right.
actually useful skills for people to know, to have some general geography,
Yeah.
to have general knowledge of different things. You play some of these historical games, and you learn all about them. You know, that recent game, Votes for Women, you play that, you're going to learn about
Right.
that topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You learn about what animals eat other animals, and you know, games about predators and animals. There's a lot of games have facts on the cards that you read
Yeah.
while you're waiting for the other person to finally take their turn.
Yeah.
I just think it's fantastic all across the board.
Well, the term game school is one that has come out because a lot of homeschoolers use it, you know, to support the education. They're learning, you know, about the ocean, so they'll play an ocean game. You know, I'd use card line a lot when I was homeschooling my son because there's all the animal facts. You have to put them in line. Different things like that are the ones I use specifically for Rome. You know, by Ryan Lockett, I used that for that. Spatial awareness
thinking?
and
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like that. You know, so there's a
interesting.
lot of skills that come out. So game school is a big term right now too.
Huh.
Education on purpose.
We've been talking about video games a little bit in comparison to some, you know, board games, and is it fun to collect? Is it fun to play? One thing, the thing that made me think of,
Sorry. Jason, thanks to Uwe Rosenberg. I always remember to feed my children.
that's a good one, okay? You needed to learn that lesson. Also, they're coming for you. My number 6 is that the fact that board games don't age, and I know I'm being kind of pithy about that, but a board game does not change, does not age. You don't feel the passage of time on a board game as you would with some other things. If I pull out an old video game console and I fire that up, it's probably going to look terrible.
Oh, like
You know
when I
what I
played
mean?
Diablo 3.
And it's
Oh,
going to have
geez,
that
yeah.
feeling of like, ooh, this didn't age well. I find the passage of time on board games is a lot gentler.
Yeah, like
You
an
know,
old
I never
movie.
pull a board game out from 20 years ago and go, ooh, it's pixelated, or
Yeah.
ooh, it's...
Or that didn't age well,
Yeah,
you know, kind
and
of
there
thing.
are
Yeah,
things
yeah.
that don't age well in board games, certainly.
Of course,
I'm just
but-
saying the passage of time is a lot more gentle on board games. And I can give you a game right now if you don't know when it came out, and you will not know when it came out. I give you a game from the 90s,
Right.
and you'd go, it looks like a new game. If it's in shrink wrap, it's new. Nothing's different. You don't need the console that it's compatible with to play it. You don't need the right TV to play it. While I was looking for that image, I kept coming across all those images that compare playing on a CRT, what is it? CRT TV, and the new ones with the pixels. People were like, old games don't look right on new TVs.
And you were sitting there saying that's an old game?
And you could tell, like they do put those two things side by side, and it's true, they look different, but it's a problem that only video games run into. I don't run into this issue with a board game from 92.
Or like as
You know what
much,
I mean?
right? I mean, I think that's the thing. It's
Right.
it's that scale, yeah. It's
Well, definitely the
Yeah.
thing about the consoles, right? He's like, let's play Puerto Rico. I'm like, it doesn't work on my table.
Yeah.
My table's been upgraded, and so the old games no longer work on it.
And somebody discovering Puerto Rico or whatever right now,
yeah.
they just, unless they specifically want to know when it came out, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? To
Right.
them, it's a brand new game.
Right.
And it looks and feels and seems like it just came out.
Right.
I love that about it. Board games elegantly stand the test of time. That's my number 6.
Nice. My number 6 is, I had a hard time kind of putting this eloquently as I do most things, but stepping out of reality and into a what if. It's just kind of a break from reality. It gives you this alternate realm that you can go into and be like, you know what?
Where you can slap people.
Yeah, that's
With
definitely
no
not.
consequences.
Was there consequences for that? What are the
With no consequences
What are
in
the
this game.
Yeah, but I just like that. Your worries you can kind of put those aside and just focus on this other thing for a while. We've been doing the D&D campaign. I understand it's an RPG, not board game, but I feel like it's similar kind of thing. And just go into the what if, or play in a different world. I can only think of like murderous kind of things, like, oh, what if I was a serial killer? Then I can play Terror Escape. Something like that. I can't come up with any better
There's so many
examples
better ways
right now.
to take this here. You're helping a doctor in a hospital.
There you go. What if I'd gone to medical schools? Thank you for that. I couldn't get past Terror Escape. But there's all these different.
It's so refreshing to play a serial killer once in a while.
But yeah, I just love these different what ifs that come out. You can play as superheroes. You can play
Supervillains.
and supervillains
that's when we were
if you
building the
want. This is when we were
characters.
building our D&D stuff, and so I just love that. Everything else real you can put aside and just get into these different worlds or landscapes and situations that are created and kind of problem solve through them.
It's make pretend for adults.
What if Robinson Crusoe? What if I was what?
Escapism is a single word for everything you said.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Escapism. There it is. It's yep. Thank you for that.
Chat, sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, again, Robinson Crusoe. What if I was deserted on an island? What would I do, and how would I kind of make it through that? So I really like that, and kind of immerse yourself.
I like it.
My number 6 is a crossover with video games in a sense that I get the same thing from video games, but I also get it from board games a lot.
Pixels.
And no, but I call it building an empire. But it's not necessarily an empire, but I like games because I get to build something, whether it's an engine in the game that I'm building, or a deck of cards, or sometimes it is a literal empire in a game that you're building, a civilization, or I'm building some structure or something. I like the idea of doing something cool in a game, building it up. I love that about games. And I like it so much that there are so many games I lose them. I'm like, I didn't care because I got to do really cool, fun things with that thing I built over the course of the game.
It's empowering, right? You're like, I built that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's an engine of cards, but you're just like, but I did it.
That's what I'm saying. This is definitely a crossover with video games because the same thing happens in video games too.
Yes.
But in board games, sometimes it's that you combine that with the tactical thing, and you're like, look upon my works in despair. And then, really, it's this tiny little 3x3 grid of tiles.
But it doesn't feel
they're
like
mine.
it. Yeah.
Bow before them. So maybe I'm getting too much into this empire building.
You're good. At
Yeah.
least you're not a serial
I was
killer.
going to say, no serial
That's
killers
what
allowed in my
if.
kingdoms.
What if? It's different. It's okay.
All right, building an empire, my number 6.
All right, my number 5 is a bit of a crossover with something you said, Camilla, which is, what was it you said? Like you like to
Touch it.
touch, no, not the tactile
not
thing.
that one?
You painted the minis and put them away. And you
Joy in like customizing and organizing.
Yeah.
Well, I specifically was talking about organizing, but yeah.
Yeah, so mine
customizing.
is, the way I worded it is that board games let me be meticulous. It lets me be meticulous.
That's a good one.
And by that I mean I get to organize and punch and sort and look at and have things that look visually pleasing like this.
So nice.
Painting, a little bit of that. Painting. Lately I've been doing a little painting. But even just like...
Wait, what?
You knew this.
No, I didn't.
This is
I
old
painted
news.
a little bit. Yeah, this is old news.
This started like a year and a half
I
ago.
painted
2
like
years. I
3
don't know.
things. I'm a beast.
No.
Accidental
Mike's been
serial
painting
killer.
too.
There
Did you
we
know
go.
that?
I did not.
One time.
Am I the only person that who doesn't paint?
You're
Give me
the
time.
only one who's
Give me
never
time.
painted. You never even painted
It's
a
happening.
house. I'm assuming.
That's
You
true.
watch your mouth. I
We did
painted
it
a
for you.
house.
Did you?
Yes, my dad taught me. I know how to paint.
Oh, back in the
paint
day
what?
you did. It's a pastime, not a current time.
What, paint a house?
Yes.
Inside or out?
Yes.
It's very different.
Yourself?
If you want to paint the inside of the house, you have to be within it.
I understand. That's rule number one.
That's the main thing. Anyway, just being meticulous with games is a fun, quiet pleasure that is difficult to... it's difficult to explain, for one thing, but I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's that feeling of sometimes I just want to sit down with a game, I pull off the shelf, and I open it, and I maybe look through the rule book or read the rule book, and just look at stuff and look at how it all comes together and enjoy little moments of art. Little moments of, ooh, I love the way these custom dice feel. Or I love the icons on these cards, or this is a good shuffle, you know. It's a good riffle shuffle, or just sorting something, reacquiring or reacquainting myself with a game. It lets me be meticulous with little things, and that's relaxing for me and very fun to do. So that's my number 5. It's a little bit of what you were talking about, I think.
My number 5 is kind of a crossover with you, but I talk about just the discovery that can come from it. But specifically, I was thinking about new hobbies and interests that can come from it.
Oh, interesting.
You know, so I have tried 3D printing because of board games, for example.
Oh.
You know, as has Joey, which I think we'll see here in a second.
If I swear,
There
if
it
I
is,
see a batarang fly in the room right now.
Right now.
There's a batarang in the picture!
So Joey discovered 3D printing, you know, because of it, and I kind of got into it for a while. And then you were talking about you got into painting. Mike tried a little bit of it at Dice Tower West with us.
Well, technically, we got into YouTubing because of board gaming. If you
Right,
think about
exactly.
it.
So it's like all these different
Yeah.
hobbies that can come from it.
Yeah.
And I really like that. And maybe some stick and others don't, but I just love the opportunity that they bring to,
Well, you
to
played
maybe get into
Terrascape,
it.
and then you got into...
And then I got
well,
into...
you know what? We're not going to talk about it.
You know, yeah, just...
Please,
Yeah.
I don't
For
know,
legal reasons, we're not going to talk about it.
Right. So I just love the discovery and kind of the little side ventures. You know, at one point I got some foam core and like designed my own insert for a game.
I've
you
done
know?
that too.
And yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've done
Oh,
that a couple
wow.
of times.
Right,
I
it's
don't
just-
think I
Am I
own
the only
those.
person who doesn't do foam core?
Yeah. But
And then
I
I
just
painted them.
right. And then I was like, ooh, that was a lot of work. I never want to do it again. You know, but I did it to keep the minis spaced exactly how I wanted. So anyways, I just love the different side hobbies and discoveries that come with the hobby as well. That interest that you never would have pursued before.
Right.
You know,
I
I
like
am
that.
not artistic, not a painter. That is strictly because
I
of
would
board
never
gaming.
have heard of Etsy for the board gaming.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have a lot more money too. All right, one of the things I hate more than anything else on earth are meetings. And I feel like nothing gets done in a meeting. And I also feel that way, and please forgive me if I've ever visited your home. I do my best when Laura says, let's go to someone's house for dinner, and I'm like, what else is there? And she's like, well, we'll just visit. And that word visit, it's an old word, you know, like, oh, we're going
Yeah.
visiting, is so insipidly boring to me. When you go to someone's house and everyone sits around and talks. It might be okay, but it also can be this very long, drawn-out thing. I'm like, so that's when you bring out a board game. Board games are great for this sort of thing. So I put icebreaker, but I also wrote like just something to do. I like board games because someone comes to my house, I'm like, oh, how do I entertain them? A board game. What do I do with this person? A board game. Something. Whether that board game could be just a quick, hey, I brought out Crokinole, watch, look how this flicking, or maybe something deeper than that. I think you guys would like Ticket to Ride. And you can talk over them. You can sit around and just have a great time, and the board game is a conduit to more than that.
Man, you're firing on all cylinders right now, okay? I heard conduit, insipid. You are
It's
on
my education.
fire right now.
Now I'm on ice.
Vasel.
Those guys are sitting on blocks of
Oh,
ice.
wow, man. Where's Mike DeLisio when you need him? Are you listening to this?
But I like this. I like the concept of using a board game to get things going. It really helps out. I mean, the other thing besides board games has always been meals. I'm like, oh, how do I get to know these
Yeah.
people? We'll eat. But then the food is done, and you're like, now what? Board games.
Or they talk with food in their mouth, and then you're watching, and then you're distracted. You don't hear what they're saying because you're wondering if the food's going to fall out of their mouth. It just gets
And then
messy.
after that, you're like,
yeah, it doesn't happen in board games.
plastic board games
Right, yeah.
that they can't destroy with their mouth foods.
Spittle.
So anyway, I think board games is a great icebreaker. Because I've had people over too where they're on the end of the spectrum in the sense of they talk the whole time or they say nothing.
Yes.
If you ever have people over for dinner and they don't say anything, It's really hard. You're like,
weird.
so what do you think about this? It's good. Yeah, the other day I did this. What do you think? I like it. We're playing
sounds
Ticket to
fun.
Ride. Here's how to
Right,
play.
yeah,
You know?
Yep. Or
'Cause
limited
they-
communication game. This is going to be
They
great.
will do more talking in a game than they would otherwise. And sometimes it loosens things up when you play.
Yeah.
So anyway, ice breaking.
Okay, number 4.
Well done.
Yes. My number 4 is something I assume you guys are all going to have on your list. Maybe not. Social interaction.
Gross.
I guess it's a little bit like what you just said, but yours was specifically about something to do or as an icebreaker sort of activity. For me, it's more just having that interaction with someone. It does let you come together over a shared activity, compete in a friendly setting, hopefully. Maybe cooperate on something together, something you're trying to achieve. It's a bit like coming together and putting together a jigsaw puzzle, except I don't want to kill myself immediately afterwards. That's the difference with board games. You do jigsaws with your wife, don't you? She does them a lot?
Oh, she does it.
You don't like 'em?
I'm playing video games on the couch at the same time. We're communicating
That's right.
via our two things.
That's it.
I'm murdering stuff, which you would approve of, and she's doing puzzles.
Yeah, puzzles are... I can do a little bit of that. And again, sharing that, I can do a little bit of that. But I think board games and that social interaction with some of the ease taken off, some of that focus required by the game, then eases everyone's perhaps social anxiety or what have you as you get around the table and play a game. I think it's a big part of... This is one of those core pillars of board gaming, educational, good for your mind, social interaction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the big ones. I knew I had to put it on the list, and I do think it's, especially for kids and anyone who's still forming a social identity, I think it's a good way to do that. Playing board games with other people is going to be helpful. I remember thinking when I was teaching theater, high school theater, the way the kids would come into that first day on that first year, ninth grade, versus when they left on that final year, how radically different they were.
Yeah.
And they were not. And in my class, obviously, it was not the only, force of change. But whether they left and never did theater again, which, 98% of them are never going to do it again, the things they learned in that class, just like the rest of high school, would help make them better people and just more socially adept. I think board games are a good part of that as well. That's my number 4.
My number 4 is a crossover with Tom from your last one, and that is just an icebreaker, a great way to get to know people. I do find that it takes that awkwardness off. It gives you that focus when you're meeting people. And what I really love is how differences melt away in board games. If you're getting to know people and you're sitting down and it doesn't matter political views. It doesn't matter.
Let me tell you about politics. Like, but first let's play this game.
First, let's play Ticket to Ride. Yeah, exactly. Like, that stuff doesn't matter because it gives you a focal point. And there's been games that I've played with people at conventions and stuff that it's a 1-hour game that we end up playing for 4 hours because we just end up talking and enjoying. Or in that last picture that was there, it was that was with Mila, and it's someone that I actually seek out playing games with now. I really, really enjoy her, and so it's that great way to break the ice, to give everybody something to focus on and break that tension, break down those barriers that don't need to be there. But then also it's a gateway to friendship, to conversations, to finding similarities with other people and have a focus on that. So I just love the atmosphere that it brings and the tension that it can break. And again, the avenue that it opens up to relationships.
Yeah, it's interesting because not too many other things let you, like when you play board games, whoever you're playing with, especially again new people you're playing with, kind of the group silently decides how much interaction is happening between everybody, or how much we're all just going to play this game.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it sort of organically happens. You might end up talking and taking a 1-hour game to 2 or 3, or you just make it about the game, and you're still, socially enjoying some company, but we're not feeling very chatty. Maybe the personalities aren't clicking, so we're going to focus on this game.
Right. Or even maybe that is just a safe space is the board game. And it's like you might walk away from that 1 hour game that took 1 hour and still be like, that was a really fun experience.
Sure.
I'd play with them again. So
Right.
it's not necessarily negative. It's also a safe place to try people out, to be like, hey, do I want to be friends with you? You know? And then you're like, I don't know.
Do I want to murder you or not?
Where on the scale do you fall?
Let's play
So, Terror Escape.
Organ Harvester.
Yeah, let's go to What If.
All right. My number 4 is a crossover with Z.
There you go.
You said discovery, I say exploration. But
Sense of exploration, the thrill of exploration.
You did. But I love this. I really do. I like pulling a game out every time and hoping it's good. But not just pulling out that it's good, but just discovering what's in that game.
What's in
I
there?
played this game, but I wonder what would happen if you played this power against this power. How would they work out? What if I played this combination of cards? I love that. That's why that's one of my favorite things about certain games. I love them because they allow me to just do so many wild, interesting things in the game. Yeah, I love the idea of seeing new things, finding something around a corner, finding something. It's not the first time for anyone. I don't care about so much about that. It's the first time for me, and I just love going through and finding that stuff. So,
Yeah.
exploration.
I love it. All right, my number 3 is one of my favorite things, and I'll try to describe it as best as I can, but I basically wrote down board games are very good at doing so much with so little. And by that, and I put a picture, I think the picture I chose was a bunch of Magic the Gathering cards. By that I mean games are tremendously effective if you allow them to work on you, of putting you, like you were saying, this is my kingdom I've built, but you have 9 tiles in front of you, of giving you a world to play in, of giving you a tremendous setting, an epic scope spanning thousands of years maybe. And you're doing that with a deck of 60 cards or a bag of tokens or what have you. That's your physical presence, but it does so much with that. That's why one of my favorite components in games are cards with powers on them. Because that card could be anything. It could be a giant titan. It could be a building. It could represent a monument forged over thousands of years. It could be a scarab beetle. It could be anything. You know, and I love that. I love that a game can do so much with so little, with a few pieces of cardboard and paper and a couple tokens. That blows my mind. This is a story I've told before, but I remember when I first played Carcassonne, it blew my mind that this was a game in which I built the board while I played on it. And that was just like, what? This is mind-blowing stuff. I open up a board and I play on it, but I'm building it piece by piece and it all matches. Again, that's a game that is just a stack of tiles, but it feels like a bigger world than what that would imply. And I absolutely love that feeling in games. So that's my number 3, doing so much with so little.
That was a good call. Yeah. My number 3 is similar to something you said earlier, Z, and you described it as, I forget what fancy way you said it.
Accidental learning. That's probably not it.
I think that is it. Is that the one? I think so, yeah.
Hit him again!
He didn't mean for real. Good
Oh,
grief.
you didn't?
Okay.
What if I hit you like this?
Hockey pads,
Is that
please.
worse?
It's
Creepier, right?
Just go.
Yeah, super uncomfortable.
The thing, yeah.
The swipe. My number 3 is, but I called it widening your horizons. So it makes you care about things that you never would have. I think a real example for
these people she didn't like normally, but now that she's met them, she's widening
I was like,
her
hey,
horizons.
they're not so terrible, right? No, but
Yeah, I know these people. They're nice.
yes, you do. Yes, all 4 of those people.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't.
You didn't see me?
No, I didn't see the one at the top corner.
Oh, okay.
Who
Yeah.
is that?
There's Tony, Leo, and Jameson.
Tony's in the top. I can't.
Yeah,
okay.
he's up in the corner. No, that's Leo. Anyway, doesn't matter. Okay, point is, you widen your horizons. It makes you learn and care about things that you might not have. This here is genotype out there. I have not thought about what is it called? What am I trying to think of? Whatever.
Beans.
Beans, I get peas. They're peas. But I have not thought about that genetics since like elementary school when we learned about it.
You were rocking genetics in elementary school?
4th grade. I remember it. I remember the teacher very, very well. But yeah, we learned about genetics in 4th grade,
okay.
and I remember that. But I've not thought about it since. And after playing this game, I found it so fascinating to go through and actually read through the index that comes with it, I guess it is, and learn about it and see all those real world connections. I know people have had the same thing happen to them playing Wingspan. They say, I didn't care about birds at all until I played Wingspan, and then I was really interested and I love the flavor text. It makes you care about science or some sort of topic that you don't have any relation or connection to, and you end up researching or looking into. The same thing happened with Battle of Versailles just a little bit ago when we played that game. It's like, I had no idea that it was this whole fashion standoff between France and the Americans, and it was so cool to read about.
I agree.
And learn about and delve into to learn more.
And you should play some of these things. You should read about. It almost would bother me if I found out people aren't doing that. Like if they give you extra stuff about your thing and some stuff, read and text on the cards, read that stuff. It's good. Learn.
It's so interesting.
It's going to help also, even if you don't necessarily care about that aspect of history, it'll help your experience during that game feel more immersive.
Right. And it sells the theme as you're playing it, and just seeing those neat design choices that come of it as you kind of invest in, like, oh, clearly this bird goes here because of this flavor text on it. It's just so neat to discover that and find. I think board games do a great job. Good board games do a good job of making me care about themes that I didn't care about.
Yeah.
I've never sat down to a computer and researched birds, but I did afterward playing Wingspan, things like that.
Interesting.
So my number 3, I called it widening your horizons.
My number 3.
Super invested.
Hit him again!
It just came out of nowhere. My number 3 is, when I first started dating Laura, I was very excited because I couldn't wait to play video games with her and show her all my collectible card games. And woe betide, she was not interested in any of these things. I was like, oh, okay, I guess... we'll just have a separation of this when we get married, right? And we did. I played video games and this. But then, did I switch my number 3 and 2 on here? I did. Thanks, Roy. My number 3 is joy. I was about to lead into my number 2.
Boilers.
Still fits, I hope. You're talking about your wife.
I love her.
Hey.
Her name's not Joy, it's Laura. Joy. You could have just put fun. But I'm sorry. Games are just... They bring me joy to play them. Mm-hmm. When I leave a game night, I am always excited. Even I was talking to, we played one of the worst games of the year this past Tuesday. Uh-huh. It took a while for me to come up with this picture, man.
You're good. Go ahead. Uh-huh.
We played like one of the worst games I've played in a long time. And we just had a great time anyway because it was just fun. Oh. People are fun. The games themselves bring fun. That joy when you beat a cooperative game. When you win a game that you thought you were going to lose, or you just pull off some cool move, or party games where you go home and you're just laughing so hard you fall on the floor. Games are fun. And I worry sometimes when I see people who seem like they're not having fun. You don't have to laugh out loud at every game. I don't expect people in the middle of On Mars to burst into laughter the whole time. But I still, at the end, they're like, oh, it was a good game, everyone's smiling. Yeah, then the game brought you joy.
Right.
And if games don't bring you joy, like if you're losing games and you go home and your night's ruined, that's a bad thing. I really do think so. Like if I lose a game, it was a good night anyway.
Yeah.
I had a great time. That's what I like about games. I'm glad I'm not... That's why board games to me are vastly more fun than sports. Because if you go watch a sports game of your favorite team and they lose, it really doesn't matter. Your night isn't as good. It just isn't. I don't see people come home when their team got beat by the other team and they're like, it was a great game. Maybe it was a great game if you lost by 1 point. But usually if they get massacred, people come home and they're like, okay. And now if they win, that's fine. But when I come home from a board game night, win or lose, I had a great time. If I didn't have a great time, it had nothing to do with the winning or losing. It was maybe something else, whatever. But I don't know. Board games are just a lot of fun for me.
I agree.
Floor. All right, my number 2 is a crossover with Camilla's number 10. I can't believe you put this only at 10. I call it tactile luxury.
That's a three-way crossover.
You
Hey.
put it in there too?
Tactile and Toy Factor, remember?
That's
Toy
right,
Factor, that's right. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, absolutely, this is the first thing I think of when I'm like, what do you like about board games? Which is funny because it's not my number 1, it's my number 2, but it is definitely the first thing I think of, you know.
It was my number 10, and it's one of the first things. It was
Yeah,
one of the top 3 one of the first
Do you
3
like
that I
stick your
thought
hand in a
of.
bag of tiles? Like you see Azul?
Sure, it feels good.
really?
Yeah,
yes.
And
I think
even
that-
cardboard, like I think Arkham Horror, I love putting the hand in there, like, oh, which one is? There's just something
Sure.
about fiddling with it, yeah.
Just bids and game pieces have, this sounds like a dumb thing because they're made of the same stuff just about that they've always been made of. But I think the tactile nature of games and how good the pieces are really has skyrocketed over the last few years. Last few, maybe a couple of decades, I should say. Games now have these tremendous miniatures, these fantastic plastic bakelite tiles, and card quality is tremendous in just about most games. It's amazing. The tactile nature and luxurious feeling of games is at an unparalleled point historically right now. You just have that's not even mentioning the artwork in games, which is pretty much unparalleled right now as well. I love the tactile nature of games. I love that it is having a hand of cards, rolling dice, playing. People always give me a lot of grief for the way I snap cards in my overviews,
Oh,
video
you do.
overviews. I don't think
yeah.
they give me grief, but they're like, Zee snaps the card corners. I don't even do it consciously, but it brings me great joy.
There's something about shuffling a deck, or even hearing someone shuffle a deck.
Yeah.
So,
And you all know you have that piece. It's like, oh, I love the way this piece sounds on the board or feels on the board,
Sure.
or when it's off, especially. If you're like, these cards just don't quite feel right.
yeah.
There is
Or
joy.
even just listening to a table off in the
Yeah.
distance playing dominoes, for me, is a very specific sound that I can associate with, again, moments in my life where I'm like, oh, the family's playing domino out in the patio. There's a very specific sound that makes. So stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep. And there's
my
a
number
reason.
2.
And there's like chip theory games. I think about their health chips versus their deluxe health chips, which are like weighted and things like that. There's a reason that we upgrade them and things like that. So yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's good.
Shush.
You done? Oh, both sides. Hey. My number 2 is similar to something I think both of you guys have said, just different ways. The creativity in problem solving and trying new strategies. Some of my best, my favorite games are ones that stick with me after I've played them. And I go back and I think, wow, I wonder what would happen if I tried this strategy specifically. What if building my engine, if I focused on this one aspect of the game or something like that. But then the other side of that, problem solving, just trying to figure a way out. I just can't get this resource generation down. What can I do here? Here I'm playing Enola Holmes with Joey and Alex, and it's one versus many. And so I'm sitting
You
there.
haven't made any of these pictures yet.
I noticed.
I had one of you painting in there, but I put Joey in with batarangs instead.
Joey's been in 3 of them, I think, or his family. It's in there a lot.
I noticed.
But yeah, so I just love that, just trying to figure it out. And the one will go and I'm sitting there on pins and needles while they're trying to puzzle it out and figure out a way to outsmart. I just love that creativity and the space that it gives you. You talked about that kind of safe space it gives you to try something new. I want to see what happens if I am playing Welcome To and I want to go all in on the pools and really focus on making sure that hits or whatever the game be. It just gives you that freedom with very low consequences just to try it out. And again, it ties into so many other stuff we talked about, the skills keeping you sharp, the building up a good engine, building something and feeling accomplished with it. But they stay with you and give you a safe place to really be creative, try new strategies, and just see what happens. And it's just really rewarding, I find.
All right. So I was dating my wife. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. We had differences, and I remember distinctly when we moved to Korea, I was looking for something to do with Lard. She didn't seem to want to play Warhammer 40,000. And that's when I thought, well, some board games might be interesting. And that has continued on for me. Just right now at the house, we got the kids home from college. So for me, number 2 is family time. It's a big deal because it's hard to find things that the whole family likes other than eating. And Melody, if you're watching this, sorry, this was the newest picture I have, but you're still part of the family.
You didn't put her in?
No, I don't like doing that. I mean, this is our
I'm
recent
sure
Christmas
she would have
picture.
liked it, though.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, she's her own family now, so there's too many fit
So
in the
it doesn't
picture.
count anymore.
No, that's not what I said.
You're not in that picture. She doesn't get to be in this one.
Is that how that works?
That's how that goes.
But I have 7 kids, and they're so diverse in what they like and don't like. Some like video games, some don't. Some like when we want to watch a TV show, everyone wants to watch something different, across the board. And there's crossovers, but if I bring out a party game or some fun activity, everyone will play. And it's just great. It's something that you can do with your family, and the number of emails that I've gotten from people saying things, like, thanks, our family started playing board games and it's good. I really think it's a good thing. I visit my parents, I can play a game with them. Whatever. I think it's just a good family time. It's something good to do with kids because it can be tough. Let's say, my son wants to play video games with me, and that works sometimes. And sometimes the things he plays, I'm like, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to play this for the 80th time or whatever, or watch you beat me.
Enough Flappy Bird. I'm sick of Flappy Bird.
What do you put Flappy Bird for? Anyway, but a board game, it's a really good bonding time. I think it's fantastic.
All right, my number 1 is a little similar to what you just said, Tom. I'm not specifically talking only about family, but I'm calling this one The Great Equalizer. My number 1 is The Great Equalizer.
Is that Denzel Washington?
That's the musical of The Equalizer is called The Great Equalizer.
Oh, okay.
It's very good. It's good songs in there. He has a lot of killing. You should watch that play. It's a really good play. Anyway, what I'm talking about here is specifically, you're talking about video games and how, a kid's video game, like my nephews, the stuff they play, I can watch a little bit of it, but I'm like, ugh. I don't have the same sense of attention. I don't have maybe the motion makes me sick, like you're saying.
Or movies, too.
Movies.
You don't want to watch Pokemon, right?
Right. It's just, I think it's interesting that board games are the great equalizer when it comes not just to age, and you can have grandma playing with a grandson or, different age groups and come to the table and share that equally, in my opinion, but also different societies, different people of different backgrounds, people that speak different languages can come to the table and share an experience that everyone is enjoying equally. I mean, you and I happened to be in this game at the World Series of board gaming. We played with a couple that was there, and they had a booth, and they are a French couple of folks. They speak English, but, they were having a little bit of trouble, and they were having a little bit of trouble also kind of like mingling. So we ended up setting up a game. We had people there from diverse backgrounds, that couple from that spoke French, younger folks, and everybody played the same game, and we all enjoyed that game experience unaffected by everybody else at the table, right? Like the fact that you are, like if you're playing a game, grandma's sitting there with the kid, one of the two of you, if you're in front of a TV, is giving up something most likely. One of the two of you is like, I don't want to watch this video game that I don't understand. There's too many buttons, Sonny, Or like grandma's got a movie that's in black and white, and the kid is like, I wanna find a hole and jump in it.
Right.
I think board games really are a fantastic equalizer for that. So that's my number 1. Everybody can come to the table and have a good time together, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from.
My number 1, once I thought of it, was instantly my number 1, and
Miniatures.
And no, No, that was and it's stayed there, and I think as we've been doing this list, it's just more and more solidified its spot at number one, and that is just these stories and experiences that come from it. You said specifically, I think social interaction. You said fun, and I think back some things that I love. You know, hiking, camping, swimming, something like that. I have very iconic moments that I tie to that.
Joey's in it again. Again?
I'm sick of Joey. I'll tell you right now. I am sick of Joey Evans.
Goodness gracious.
Okay. If I see Joey Evans today,
Joey's
I'm
the buddy. What can I
slap
say?
him in the mouth.
All right.
I know that feels like. We'll start a support group.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so dramatic. Okay, so just the stories and experiences that come from it. We've all had those games that you can think back at. Oh, again, I talk about Robinson Crusoe. Remember that time that we did this, and then that card came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, the table explodes, or something like that. In this game here, we're playing Skate Summer, and Joey will tell you all about his 80-point turn that he had in this game, and just those really iconic moments that stick out. It's all about that social interaction. Everyone's invested, and you just have these experiences to share and these stories that come of it. Sometimes it's a really good one, sometimes it's really bad, you know, and this thing happened, it just destroyed the game, or so-and-so did this strategy, and oh my gosh, just absolutely killed us. You know, there's just a whole spectrum of things, but almost all of my favorite games, I can tell you about one time or another that I played them and something very iconic happened to me that now has become iconic. I love that, and everyone might walk away with a different story from a game or a different time that they played it, something else that happens, and I love that these come without seeking them. You know, it's not like you sit down to a game and you're like, you know what? I'm going to set it up, and this is going to be the time I remember I'm creating this great experience. It's just a side effect of playing the game. They just happen about because you're sitting down and invested in a board game.
Right.
You know, you're not seeking these experiences. I love it. It's just so relationship building, so life enriching. And that's, board games, just the story and experiences and the people that come with it.
All right, my number one, just one word, and that is friends. I'll be there for you. Anyway, no, and you know what? Show the picture, because I want to show who's not in this picture.
Here we go.
What? Huh?
Look at that.
Oh, I made it.
Yeah.
I was scared.
I'm not there. Great. I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's true. Sorry,
Who
Roy.
else isn't there?
Roy's
Hold
not
on,
there,
let me see.
but you
Who
know,
is it?
Joey's not there either, so.
Where was this?
You know what? We need to get a new group picture. Well, I guess we have the van one, but we need to get like a big group picture at Dice Tower East. Maybe even on the cruise we'll do one.
Look at Kenny rocking the guns, man. He's like got the guns
Oh,
out.
he is. Look at that.
He's like doing the whole like push the muscle up. I see right through your game, Kenny.
But you know what?
That's a Brian Drake.
I love this. This is back there. You see Uli at like a level 6 for what Uli can get to, you know. But we have such a great time at cons and stuff that I like that we hang out together. But not just us here at Dice Tower, but I have some friends outside of gaming. But that group has grown pretty small comparatively for me. So many people I met through gaming, and I like hanging out with them. I like it. I think it's pretty fun. It's a great time. And it's neat. You know, I mentioned earlier the accessibility of the hobby where you meet a designer, but you can also become friends with a designer.
Sure.
Right.
You become friends with people you haven't met, that when you finally do meet them, hey, it's the first time, but I feel like we've been friends forever. And I don't know, it's a good time. I think gaming attracts people from all over. You mentioned that, everybody.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that there's age differences. There's also sometimes people who don't have the best social skills of the game, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's something we can do with people. And that's actually something I thought about putting on my list was like, gaming gives me a way to communicate with people that I can't maybe communicate with many other ways.
Yeah.
Like not just another language, but just maybe sometimes we just have a hard time talking about anything, but we can game together.
Yeah.
But I've just made better friendships than that. I like hanging out with the people here at Dice Tower that I consider, I mean, they might not be my friend, but I'm their friend.
Whether they like it or not.
And no, but there's just so many people that I've met this way. I know people in all the states, all countries over the world. It's just fantastic. So I think gaming's just a great hobby. And I'm very excited because, in a week and a couple days, we're going to go with 600 of our friends on a cruise ship. And then in July, we'll meet with 1,000 more or so at Dice Tower East, which you can come to.
Yeah.
You
Come
know,
play.
Thor has accepted our lists. Signing off from Asgard. All right. Anyhow, thank you all for watching. I hope you have a fantastic time. This is the last live thing we're doing this week, I think, right? Yes.
Yes.
We still got videos going up all weekend, and going into next week, the top 100 of all time, 10 a.m. on Monday. Mike DeLisio's flying in specifically for this,
yes.
mostly. Well, sort of.
Hopefully. He will be here, right?
I give him a 2-day buffer. No, a 1-day buffer.
Uh-oh.
What?
Oh,
We can do the first 10 without him.
That's true. Nobody cares about
We know
100.
what his, I'll be like,
100 to 91, who cares?
I have a Knizia randomizer. I'll just press it. Here's a game round of Knizia. Mike's 100.
I like that. I like that.
Oh, man.
All right. Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Camilla.
I'm Zee Garcia.
Have fun. Don't get hit.
Make some friends.